IT. And every user in IT had identity, which is not right word, but it sounds nice. They didn't have identity, they had identity. So that's where I will be dancing around. And what I would like you to do is to open your questions until the end of the presentation, or if it is pretty crucial task in particular context, please wait until I finish the slide and I will be happy to answer definitely. In my opinion, the digital identity, as I said, not the right term, and many other terms in IT. I'm old schooler and I used to have terms which reflect the subject. This is not. And when you have ID or identity, I would call it digital identity. Managing digital identity is not that big problem relatively. We have a lot of experience for many, many years of managing these identifiers and identity. But today I will be digital identity in different contexts. I also anticipate that some people would not be agree with my statements. That's fine. Only what I would like to ask you to, when you make a question or comments, please make them consistent. You need to pick up the before and to answer it. So, this is my presentation today. So, as an architect of 20 plus years, my domain is why, what, and perform, not how. How other specialists exist in the information technology or in the companies or outside of the company, and they can be hired. But my focus on what and why. And this presentation is rather a narrative, more referential than visualized image. So this is a crucial date because digital identity is targeted to this date in the plans. Your profile is it already targeted. So we will be talking about a relatively thin ice. It's political things. Because when we're talking about identity in a real modern sense, crossing the red line between technology and humanitarian areas. This is very, very delicate matter again. So I will talk about several topics from different perspectives related to digital identity. But what I would like to outline that mandatory digital identity or ID is not security. It's not for security because we can secure our systems without some threats, that is of slavery. I'll try to point these more details in the future. So let's go to the next slide. The next slide, we will talk about identity versus identifier in the context of IAM, identity management. Accessing. I think that access and identity are two different words. And what they call together, I think again for the sake of convenience. In one short word, address everything, meaning addressing nothing, in my opinion. Because if you're so wide and you do not articulate about some details, you don't really know. People don't really know what you're talking about. So I use what we have and can't say anything more about that. So identity uh, is what makes thing itself, and is the eternal world of the thing. Actually, refers to uniqueness, identity in the context of something else in the world, if you want. Identity is not necessarily changed depending on the situation over the time, and it is normal by the world than IT. However, we need to think about IT, especially SSO. Definitely talk about more persistent identifier over user as possible. The more systems can be accepted through this identifier, the better. It has nothing to do with identity of this user. If you put a role on the top of this identifier, it will be more confusing because role can change significantly. And a little bit, a small change of attributes of the role, like read versus write, creates another role. Person will had monoliths for definitely application when we have distributed applications. Do you think that this user or anybody in the company knows what the number 55 in the chain of invocation knows about this user, or user knows what will be involved? Of course not. Because this is step-by-step proceeding where the identity of the user or identifier is not of interest of this 52nd element in the chain. And the element needs to know who can contact it and who have a trust or zero trust to my neighbors. Why I'm involved, I don't know. I do my job. That's it. So propagating this identity to the Swiss chain is not really meaningful unless you want to have a trace. The second identifier is enough trace. You don't need to propagate this identity, but it is totally different topic to discuss. So talking about the identity of a person, this thing exists outside of technology. It's self-defining. And so this identity, you can then articulate your personality, your thoughts, your started thoughts, your name, your visionary, your references, everything. This is not in digits. But it is about human. Now, how human works in the digital environment, my opinion, identity, but it's not common. Some people believe that we can propagate technological meaning of the identifier and make it personal and make it digital identity. Identity is legal here. It's digital representation of activities of a person somewhere. If person doesn't act in the online, this person does not exist online. Is this enough reasons to erase the person in life, or is it a technical issue? Talking about digital identity of a person, or digital identity of a person in the systems, can say that actually it is the thing which assigns the person. With consent of this. And this assignment made by somebody else. And is somebody else supposed to be what? To get approval or trust for this person or make enforcement. Right. So this is when the politics sits. First is claimed to be your online persona. Persona? No, it's not persona, it's materialism. Today I can change my mind and do everything all in the place. I am free, but I can do whatever I want online. Or don't do anything at all. Well, it's not my persona. It is a speculation of the technical term, in my opinion. At the end of the slide, you can see I tried to put a table with several categories, risks for the identity. They are totally different risks. If you want, you can read them here, but it will take a lot of time to analyze all of them. Most what I'm saying is on the slides is mostly cited. It's not my thought. Picked it up from a source. So,
Get the cage sorted. Could you please at the end of the meeting to pizza? 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Is there anybody who needs Okay. So I'll order roughly half vegan and vegetarian. Oh, half. Thank you very much.
You have things much. All right. I'm aware of two major ways to digital identity per person. One I learned when I was young, another one I learned. So the first one is this. It started with how much wrote Communist Manifesto. And he tried, together with Engels, it's a very strange couple, to explain how people can get happy. Everyone. And the outcome of the hearing was equal. Equal in full sense. No man, no woman, no tall, no small, no different tones. That's the ideal situation for common happiness. And this was disagree, but it doesn't happen. So his ideas was picked up by Lenin in Russia, and then engaged and enhanced by Stalin. You probably all of you heard about that. And what socialism Stalin built based on the Marx and Lenin theories in all areas of information. And Mussolini picked up from Lenin as well. And then the theory. So at that time, the digital identity of person was simply a tool on the menu. That was very simple. First, commonly used in the Soviet Union, if you want. Together. I don't talk about Hungary or Bulgaria. I'm not talking about Egypt. Another way, because everybody was a direct candidate to the concentration camp or to the fighting squad. Very simple. No objections. That's another way. These guys with soft approach learned lessons from the hard way and mostly drum shape put the basic of the neo-Marxism, which were elaborated by Levin and now Schwab. And now this neo-Marxism is flourishing in the World Economic Forum in Davos. Majority of the programs of the progressists coming from there. In this case, this work was not in the vacuum. It was based on a lot of work in the United States and in the UK with some scientists who wanted to change the nature of the problem. Goal, initial goal, happiness. It's not Chinese happiness, you know, than Buddha carrying kids in the sack everywhere and everybody thinks that it is what we have to believe in. It's happiness and absolutely equal flat society. Because if you have Israel, you will not be happy. Your neighbor shouldn't have anything that you don't have. Otherwise, that can be, and then it will be rebellious movement in the society, not accepted. Should be conflict. Both of these ways go to the same thing. The digital identity of physical person, its official name. This is the construct created based on the directives from Dallas, picked up by United Nations as a driver, and then United Nations started to build practical recommendations based on this. And we will talk about that in the next slide. You probably heard a lot, especially last several years in sustainability. Nothing new. The same dream from and current population for the sake of the well-being of the future generations. It's absolutely classical Marxist statement. But to do this, to build something which people don't want to give themselves today, people must be managed. So UN means a set of regulations and recommendations, and they came up with the idea of universal digital identity, one for all 8.4 billion people, while 1 billion people cannot read and 2 billion don't have anything like a mobile or computer. They have no clue what's going on in that. They live in their own life in their own locations. Happily, maybe not, but they are on their own. They decide what they need or want to do. So the universal digital identity can be foundational and functional. Foundational means documented, your passport, your driver license, whatever else. And your functional is much more narrow to the access to the vital life resources, to your healthcare, to your banking, to your floor, shops, to your food, to your house if you want, and so on. This is one general statement. We have two functional things. Second point, that this thing is based on devices. I don't think we're devices here. I don't have any device. Oh, some people have pacemaker, but different story. And biometrics. Why need biometrics? To distinguish you from another. But is it necessary? I try to prove it is not. It's also a verification mechanism. Who will be verifying on which criteria conditions? Nobody knows. It's not clear. And the last one probably is records of your existence. Half of Africa doesn't have records of the existence of the people. Half of, I think, Asia as well, and a lot of countries in Latin America. So we're talking mostly about European and North American realities. We try to push it everybody. And the last one, it must be the same for everyone with no exclusions. For citizens, non-citizens, for organs, for people who really think that know how they reproduce themselves, everything.
Yeah, it's not with sun shade.
Those people don't care about that because
Because I
they
took
are not alive.
Oh, yeah.
The
Yeah,
major thing is to be alive.
Ah,
Otherwise,
that's I know. Sorry to stand.
you cannot be controlled.
Should have called it.
You have to have a lot of police or whatever agents spy on you if you don't use online as a synonym to your existence. Get it? Those ideas were sleeping before for about a century, not new. And this is the situation where we heading to. I have to say that social organization where practically the rulers or governors provide only online access to the life important resources and this access to the online interfaces is controlled by the same rulers. According to modern definition, not mine, is a digital concentration. Simply, it's not hyperbolic. It is not a extreme statement. No. In Soviet Union, it was real concentration camp if you open your mouth in the street without permission of talking about something. Really. But now, then it was disappeared, now it returned back. What is the most important part of digital identity, universal digital identity interpretation of those rulers, and why all of a sudden this comes now? Because of AI. No, AI in general. Generative AI. Linguistic generative AI. Which can compose any information in human-like style from the words said by people or wrote by people before. This area ignites a lot of investments, abnormal amount of investments. There is another AI, by the way, technology in emotive science, like mathematics, like physics, like chemistry, and something else. There are also AIs. Most focus on the generative linguistic AI. Why? Because with help of this AI, somebody can generate brainwashing, the most effective way to brainwash people. They even created the idea of saved AI. It means censored and converted into whatever rules somebody decided we have to learn. And this is very, very dangerous. Oh, what did I do for this presentation? I put in front of you two types of AI ethics. Today, AI ethics is in the war, absolutely clear war between United Nations in left, one camp, and European Union. The United Nations says that what you can see in AI must be ruler focused. Everything which does not work for ruler would not appear in AI range, but it is for purpose. You said no. We have different, we have humanistic approach, human-centric approach, where we assess AI based on the harm AI can bring to the person. They produce appropriate regulations. Put your attention, for example, for the synthetic equity, which I think from on the grand side and on the EU AI Act document with a lot of following documentation. One of them, the risk classification or classifier for AIs. And categories the United Nations doesn't want to hear about. It's highly risk AI in perspective of the person. AI results. Not necessarily the outcome text, but the consequences of the text as well. And the second one is activity AI. For example, for this document, face recognition in the public place. Wow. Streets, in demonstrations, in meetings, and so on, is prohibited. Police have no rights to apply face recognition without explicit order from a judge. This is what written in this act. And we do exactly opposite. We plan. We try to do. I read a couple of times some information about this matter where one of them said that government wants to provide faces in meetings and passport pictures of citizens. In fact, did they do it or not? I don't know. But this is an intention. You see, this is married to deepfake, the book I wrote about the AI ethics. These two camps and their realization in multiple countries in Europe, America, and Asia. So if you're interested in details, you're welcome. It's available, I think, for free on Amazon. So now we're getting closer to our 7 days. Current British government created by the left, officially left Labour Party, providing BritCards for people living in this country. I try to be very accurate. You will see why. This proposal actually made about a year ago, maybe more. And here you can see the collection of information I made. On the left-hand side, you can see the publicly announced technology for BritCard. They're available in open space. And the major thing is that government says they do not consider. They didn't say anything about considering AI to be used in this BritCard regime. They didn't say anything. However, on the right-hand side, I selected in which particular already declared cases we can find all of AI getting out. So it will be quite long to talk about this, but the major point here is that practically everywhere enablement of this BritCard in AI. That's why so much money government puts into AI in the UK. They even hired external foreign company to build AI for UK. That means BritCard will be available for this company from the United States. I don't understand where any privacy here. It's totally eliminated. The only privacy interpreted in this case in the way of protecting kids from bad stuff on the internet. What the only example I have right now, which already announced, is from Australia. They required starting maybe this month that child have to provide proof that of his age, or anybody has to provide proof of the age. That means that all adults have to confirm to government that they may access particular site. By showing this, passport, blah, 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 confirms the real age. It's already announced today that 6 foreign sites used this rule, converted it upside down, and easily made it available to anybody who wanted to use it. So people always find way around, that's for sure. But this draconical matter is for surveillance. British government said that they need DNA of all newborn. Why? Because they want to create a biggest European bank of DNA. No, it's for your profiling in the future with your digital identity. It has to have multiple elements of the digital identity, not only your name, your date of birth, location, and so on, but also your face, your DNA, your other facts, and most important, traces of your activities online. Otherwise, they cannot guarantee that they talk to the same person. They claim to be the person in the application. Well, I believe that I can easily nowadays take a mannequin, put a 3D face of, I don't know, social, and say, it's me. Can they recognize it? No. They cannot distinguish. So all technologies have limitations. Say it will define our liveness. No. I can make a picture of you. Sorry. You can make a picture of me. In the next moment, kill me. What the picture will reflect? Liveness? No. So it all tricks of words. It's all second layer wordsy everywhere in these things. So the technocracy, it's the company mid-30s, the first time created this idea of different identity of a human. They wanted to change it. Why? Because technocrats know how to do it. And they can manage through this know. People not existed here, not all. It's digital identity online, that's all. You can go away and fly into Mars or digital identity will be enough. So it is all very strange identity usage. We've crossed from technology, politics. In this slide, I don't have enough time, I believe. It's too much to talk about, but I compared actually two things. What government says about BritCard from different documents, official documents, and what each statement actually means. Please accept my apologies. I will not go through all of them. It will be too much too long. But I can give you a very simple example of this language actually. Here. A simple ethical principle. Solidarity. Everybody knows what that means, right? We are all together for something. You agree with that. And they all go together further different. But we agreed on that ourselves. Nobody pushed us agree. But in a socialist way, solidarity means no different opinions, no objections, no resistance. Everyone must go starting with left leg. That means otherwise you are not solidar with other people. Who are the people? Every one of them has to have their own mind, their own consciousness, dignity, and so on. But why solidarity is so strong idea? Because it doesn't allow any equality. What is equality? Here. Democratic country. It's equal rights to access the resources. What left is fair. Because one is big, another one small. Small cannot get to the fruit. Big can. It's unfair. We have to elevate small to they have equal access to the same single apple. Limited. And what they will do, right? To prevent fights, it has to be third person, regulator, or distributor. He decides which part of that apple will go to food. No, the problem. It's not you, you have no voice. This is equity. This is equality. Equity is equal access to resources. Contributed anything, if you have credit for accessing something, it's about everybody absolutely equal to another. It's not that, right? It's impossible. Every human being is different. So different mentality, different organs, different biomedics. I worked in biomedics before, so I know that definitely that different races have different biophysical values for the same characteristics, for normal, for abnormal, and so on things. So this is how language is written. It says that it will help government to protect, to fight with illegal immigration. No way. because illegal immigration do not have need to get to work. They are paid until they become legal. They are placed in the hotels. They don't need to rent. They do not use government benefits because government give it to them. Currently, the whole fight goes about NHS. Should NHS serve illegal immigrants, and in which way? For my money, for your money. Why we do not decide that? So the BritCard is for people living in the UK. They deliberately say it's for citizens and permanent residents. What is permanent resident? Well, I know. I was permanent resident. I know what does it mean. When I came to United Kingdom, suddenly stamp on my passport said, no public funds. Medication, no thank not at all. I had to live on my own for 5 years before I was become eligible for public funds. Illegal immigrants, do they have it? So everything changed here. And I'm going to the next slide. You see you so I collected 11 points which indicate that this time initiative with BritCard, it's not the first time. Yeah, this first. Again, it was scrapped. 11 points which indicating that BritCard see the water. I can't predict. There are very strong indications that it will not. For every citizen,
Well, I thought that we knew tonight.
or what goes or will be needed to apply for the job. Third one, cross board or something like this. I don't remember exactly what else. Job, rent, and benefits. But if the government provides all these services to the people already in this country, but not citizens and not permanent residents, what can you do? Nothing. So BritCard is not applied to them. And for the people in the UK, special countries. One of the headlines to work for government, other now is it's first British insurance, government insurance, pollution for low income people. That's we tried to create force employers to pay extra money to save this money for the retirement time of these people. We had several companies bidding for that internationally. The first one was Dutch company. They said Britain is a bazaar. People in Britain, millions, tens of millions, try to do everything they want, not to be connected to government. They change name, they change address, they change, get different line. They do anything. We don't want. They don't understand about pension. Yes, that's fine, but they don't want to be managed. I would say so. They don't want to pay taxes. So that's not only the Asian ingredient. People need such things. majority of the people in the UK have no idea about the consequences of BritCard because it's not announced widely. It's written in a very special literature, in special in papers, but majority of people have no idea about that. Plus, there is a very strong movement. As of today, we have practically 3 million people signed the official petition on the government side against introduction of this card. And because of that, while it was just a question of whether to discuss this proposal in Parliament, now it is decided it must be discussed, debated in the Parliament before the card is proposed. And as you can understand, debate may last endless. One way. Another way, especially we have practically 3 major parties in the country. Actually, we have 5. We have Labour, Tory, Green, Liberal Democrats, major ones, and now we have Reform UK. Number of Reform UK, 50,000 less for 6 months. Never exist. Kids. So Labour loses practically every election right now across the country. And this shows you the number of people signed for the petition against the card. So it's very strong. By the end of this Parliament, 2029, it will be a very open question. How many constituencies will be under Labour or under Republican? Tory is not counted anymore, practically, because Reform UK stable head of Labour 10-15% in every post across the country. People don't want it. People don't understand probably what they want. Yeah, certainly agree with that. But they don't want the management. They don't want somebody to tell them. And we are in the middle of this process. And we'll see what goes on. How much time I have, if I have any?
Well, we're expecting the food to arrive in about 20 minutes, 25.
In this case, I have a chance to show you absolutely different thing. And that is self-sovereign personal digital identifier. It's a theory which is based on existing experience in capitalism and neocapitalism. Neocapitalism is the one which kind of responsible for the keeping surrounding communities up. That's the duty of the owner of the business. Invest something in the surrounding community. Regular capitalism didn't have this idea at all. So the absolutely opposite approach is self-sovereign. Sorry, I didn't want to grow. So this is personal digital identifier for people living in the digital environment. So it is what a person thinks about his or her appearance online with digital systems. Nobody can dictate what is this. The person is this identifier, and this identifier, I call it also shortly PID, they contain any personal information except my medical, nobody's business of my medical data, because if they stolen, I cannot prove that I exist. If my DNA is stolen, you have to bring me and somebody else who steal it together and say, no, it's not you, it's you. You are Steph. So if you lose your biomedical information, your face image, your fingerprint, anybody who did it can pretend you to be you. And you have no means to prove it. Well, serial identifier is when the person composes, it's a composite identifier. Composes this identifier from different personal data. Actually, not personal as personal data, the data of individual life, current, former, and so on. You will see it in a moment. And this identifier can be presented as an identifier of this human to whoever wants to verify. And to do this, there are also credentials. So, several categories of what kind of information may be used in this identifier. Some of these positions are mandatory, like name, date of birth, and some of them optional. The person is free to modify them at any moment with only one condition. All this information must be digitalized, may be digitalized and verifiable. If, for example, I was born in some rural village, the fact of my birth was written in the church book. It's not online. Unless this thing is online, I can reference to it and the verifier must find, because where I find this book or this online verify that we vote correctly. What might be to prove that I am here to do business. So, the same relates to the online. Usually, if you're logging somewhere in the forum site, you use login. It means you have account. And this account owned by somebody, not government, not necessary. But I can say that today I logged in A, B, C, and D at 10 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock. For example, that's my submission. You have to go to those sites and figure out in their log that I was there at that time. That method was alive. I can say that I bought something a minute ago from Amazon. A minute ago I was alive. You don't. You have to go to Amazon and confirm and verify. So all this information has them. So if you put it properly, it has to be pointing to the events in your physical, normal life a moment ago. You don't need for this. What if I put them here? Put some something here. You see? No, you cannot dictate me what to do. And here are statements mostly about this personal digital identifier. which composite thing to collect this information together, to submit it to the funnel. As a modern person, I can engage AI. Not the AI. Personal AI is allowed to go somewhere with my permission, maybe with my password, with my whatever, against particular account, and collect this information for me. When I have what I said to be collected as my PID and credentials, I submit it to the BritCard. So I will use AI, but in humanistic way. Help me, not me help him, and whatever. And sounds nice, huh? Fairy tale. It's not that fairy tale yet. What I did, I tried to check if I do all these strange, not digital things together, collect this information and submit it to somebody, what is the probability, statistical, strong mathematical probability that two people among 8.4 billions will have the same set of values, which I submitted. And on the left-hand side, you see the mandatory data and additional information for my submission. Credentials. My calculations, my AI calculation shown that practically, if I don't do any security on them, I am at the same level with these simple life things, at the same level with UDI. The probability that duplication practically does not exist. If I compose many things, it's not my creation. These things exist before. Composite identities, not. But if you put security, what internet will be, I don't know. For example, only my name. The probability that with this particular, in this particular case, will be practically next to zero. Anybody would have the same thing because it's minus 99 degrees. It's not me, it's mathematics. So to have such things, we have a certain type of society, unfortunately. It's not about identity anymore. It's not about technology anymore. It's about society. And this society was described and tested in the description. The two major things for this society is personal well-being. Every one of us, soon, right? My well-being can contradict your well-being, vice versa. How can we do it? There is another principle, reciprocal liberty. It's a known principle. Other elements like prevailing of judgment power, judicial power. Everything we decide through the judge. Everything. The judge is much higher than administrator. The administrator wants to do something which is not allowed, go to judge. We select, and we both judges, we can call them back. Actually, in American Constitution, it is possible. It's not a nonsense when Trump wants to remove judge by impeachment. It is in the Constitution. It's not you. It's there. Okay. This is a combination of normal, regular, specific, and and we are now at the intersection. We're going to go to our current state to the regulated capitalism, which I just described. Enterprises produce something, not too much, too much profit, very similar to Norwegian, Swedish, a bit socialism, they call, but not very rich people in there, because everything is regulated. Well, but everybody has decent level of life. Or going to the stakeholders, the more stuff, which nobody looked into it, or majority of people did not look into it. Here is a stakeholder capitalism. It's capitalism per se. It's a team of the most rich people on the world, couple hundreds of them. And divided the whole industry around the world globalists. Who did what they, each of them wants to do. They declare it as a responsibility capitalist for the customers, for the people living around. Yes, responsible. What exact responsibility is? Who decided which of them? They decide. How they decide? What are stakeholders? Stakeholders do not rent. They don't need things to take this fundamental document. Shareholders do it. Now you can imagine, you probably know already, that one type of people in the company have 99% cost. All other, that's the problem. So, stakeholder capitalism is an umbrella. It fools us as much as possible. We call it environment, info, and government. Something like this. You need a problem. It's about the environment, it's about managing people, and about governing everything else. This governance is stakeholder. People have no voices. Sustainability is an extreme. You have to suffer today. I lived in that country for years. I know from the first hand, you are not bad. Nothing at all. I was commanded to use this, and this. But it's not the first thing. I'm finishing. In the articles where I describe the majority of the presentation, we are they're talking about the regulated capitalism, stakeholder capitalism, and management of digital identity against the people. What I have today. Questions.
The food has just arrived, by the way, so
What about, I think humans are using identifiers, human names, and father name or mother name or their tribe for probably last 10,000 years. Aren't they prove identity or aren't they identifiers?
I would say no. I know places, physical places, where everybody had the same surname, father name, and maybe some other.
Maybe 0.0001% of the global population, but vast majority of people did have their name, their father or mother name, and their tribe name to uniquely identify a person.
No, no. This information can be easily stolen. I'm your neighbor, I know about you something, about your father and mother. I can pretend to be you. This is enough. Yeah.
Digital information can be stolen as well. We are talking about how people used to live, not, there is nothing such thing as foolproof. In reality, there is nothing foolproof. Anything can be stolen.
If I apply for benefits to government, I have to prove that I am who I am claimed to be, right? But my neighbor can do the same thing under my name. Bro, my neighbor can put all this information on the black market and somebody from another side of the world can do it. Physically, you don't have a approval for that. It's not enough. That's the problem. Part of the personal digital identifier, yes, but it is not enough to make it unique. Enough for all population of the people.
So far, the only thing which can realistically make unique is your DNA, your retina. Neither can be stolen. Nobody can. I can't take your DNA. Neither I can take your retina. I can take your fingerprint.
Somebody keeps them, like a government. What prevents me from stealing that from government?
Yeah, but I cannot take your DNA with me. It's still with the government. What you have actually is a hash code. And such a 256 hash. Government doesn't have DNA. It's probably somewhere else.
They collected it.
So they collected it, yes. The point is, I can copy your signature. I cannot copy your DNA. That's the fundamental difference between.
You cannot, but you can, I'm sorry, not you. Somebody can steal this DNA from the storage and say, it's me.
Probably they already have it.
Of course. That's the point, having everything like DNA. When it is stored anywhere, it can be stored.
Can I?
Sorry, please.
Oh, thank you.
Right.
This is really interesting and thank you for this information.
Any of the pizzas vegetarian rather
The
than vegan?
illegal
I didn't make the order, but they should be some
post
vegetarian.
How do you tell? That's the question.
card.
I can see the ones that said.
This is part of this stuff.
Help from the government. So my question is, if the government, can they still give them legitimate identity?
Of course.
So that's the problem.
That's a problem, because when I came to United Kingdom, I brought a bag of documents, proving that I'm not a camel.
So technically, the government can do whatever they like.
Yes.
So they used to do, but they stopped doing it.
Thank you.
It's pretty strange, yeah.
Clarifications. United Nations in 2016, their concept of the universal identifier was so that individuals could access finance,
Chicken face.
establish themselves, build a business, buy a house, do whatever they wanted to do, and they needed to identify individuals who, with access.
So we don't want to back into the wrong place.
Concept of 2016 and the UN program from that time for the part.
Yeah, this is kind of
So that would that's the way. You second point.
Would be greedy if I started in before anybody.
No, you just-
Better not go back in.
Different legal regulatory environment from the UK. UK is common law, the EU is Napoleonic law. Napoleonic law comes from top down, and common law is from the bottom up. Basically, the end result is the same as you described. Third point, which is the important one, is that your SSI at the end was very much along the lines of digital wallets not the government digital wallets that we hear about here and run away screaming. Not the EU wallet, no, not the EU wallets that the EU is issuing to every citizen, but the personal wallets that are being envisaged now, and company wallets as well, by the way, where your wallets are a collection of verifiable credentials and attributes which provide a holistic view of the individual, which is what you were saying.
Who decided that this is holistic view? I decided.
No. You decide how many, you can put in what you like into your wallet.
Wallet for that, I can have multiple folders for everything.
You can have multiple wallets.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, you can have multiple wallets. But it does provide rather one of the attributes in a digital wallet can be your national system, but only an attribute. And each wallet can have a different PID, depending on how many wallets you've got, whatever.
This or is that it's my official information, which I cannot change because I was not born before. That's my birth statement. And everything else, I choose what to provide to the verifier at this moment. You cannot steal it because we don't know what I will provide. The only thing duplicate me is to have to spy on me every second and do everything.
The only thing wrong with the only thing that I take issue with what you're saying with regards to the verifiable credentials, if you're not careful, to verify the credentials, there's what they call a phone home. They have to phone back to the issuer of the credential to verify that it's a valid current credential. There are ways around that, but you have to be very careful that you don't have this phone home capability, because then you're being tracked indirectly.
I actually didn't consider phone, I considered online. Everything.
No, I mean phone home.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Yes, I did. Yes, of course, everything is at risk. No questions about that. But you don't need to do your biomedical and face things to prove that you are.
Very, very interesting. Thank you. Generally.
Stop. Thank you.
So sorry, I'll just
After all.
go straight to the point. So my question is, do you think the use of digital identity will get more complex and tiring, especially with the use of AI agents and VPN for manipulation?
I didn't get it, sorry.
All right, I said, do you think the use of digital identity will get more complex or tiring, especially with the use of AI agents and VPNs for manipulation?
It depends on the purpose of having identity. So if you collect your admittable information using AI,
I didn't want to go back in, have it come back.
I to spy on your activities on the website. It's totally different story.
All I know is that
So
the
it
two of
depends
them
how you
are
apply.
vegan and vegetarian.
Let's start
Those
now.
two.
Yeah,
Doesn't-
those are probably the main.
Enjoy the food before it gets cold.
Yeah.